Hi, I'm Nathan, and you're listening to the Queer Conscious Podcast. Have you ever felt hurt by somebody you love? I'm sure we all have, but there's something particularly hurtful about queer on queer crime. I'm sitting down with Yinka Freeman, a powerhouse entrepreneur and community leader, and she's going to share a story of feeling hurt by the very community that she set out to serve. We're talking about what it feels like when the people that you thought would have your back actually don't, about the heartbreak, the anger, and the courage that it takes to keep going, to keep believing, and to stay focused on your mission, even when it feels like the ground is falling beneath you. This episode is about reclaiming your narrative and about finding your way back to trust, hope, and integrity. If you've ever felt disillusioned by the very spaces meant to uplift you, I hope this episode brings your attention back to the things that really matter. All right, Yinka, the event producer extraordinaire, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for having me.
So, Yinka, can you take us back for a moment and just how did you know that event planning was like your thing? Like what got you involved in it?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I don't think I ever knew it was my thing. But if you were to ask my friends, they would be like, oh, yeah, no, it's been her thing since high school. I've always been like the person that my friends would come over and we would hang out before going out in high school, or when we had our senior prom. I was the person that really took the lead during our senior prom. I ended up like connecting with our art teacher because we had just had an art show a few weeks prior. And I ended up like asking if we could use some of the art pieces to like put in the hotel space.
For
So we
prom.
created, yeah.
Okay, right. Uh-huh.
We created this whole like magical fairyland with ginormous bugs and like panels of like florals that students had designed and created.
Oh my God. So,
And it
Yinka, this
always
is why
just
we're
like clicked.
friends. This is why we're friends, because I was that person in high school too. Like
Were
I
you
had
really?
after prom party, I had a time traveling after party and people had to dress up as like historical figures. It was ridiculous, but like you have to do that. I think it makes
You,
it more special.
yeah, yeah. So I was always that person. And so it never like clicked in my head until much, much later in my career journey, but have always been like I've always been a party planner among my friend group. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that I ended up in this industry.
And is there like a deeper meaning to it? Like as you look back at all the events that you plan, is there a deeper meaning that you've seen just like arc throughout the events that you've helped plan?
I honestly feel like, and I've realized it in the past maybe 2-ish years. It's that act of service that
Mm.
it ignites in me personally. Is I look at events that I put on or events that I plan or help produce as an act of service to my community or the greater community or a community that we're serving. Um, COVID really helped me understand that because I think it help everyone understand events aren't just a party. Events can be so much more. They're such a way to bring people together. They serve so many different purposes that we were all sad when we couldn't go to a music festival, right? And it's like,
Yes.
okay, why am I sad? Because I'm not seeing Diplo play tomorrow. But it's not really that. At the end of the day,
It's
you're
not about
sad,
Diplo.
right? It's not. It's about the friends that you don't get to see because you're not out and about at Waterfront Park, you know? It's about the new friends you don't get to connect with. And so I started realizing that me in the background, making sure the spaces are there for all of that to happen is an act of service.
Yeah, and it truly is an act of service. Everything that you pour into these events, and luckily you enjoy it. So it seems like you enjoy it for the most part. We'll get into some of the tea later, where maybe some of the challenges come up. But it sounds like you really do enjoy putting these spaces together. And do you think there's like a secret to making a really well produced event? Like one secret ingredient that you could add to it that would be like, oh, that's what you need at every event.
Um, I'm gonna take it a little woo woo for a
Okay.
second.
Okay. Let's
But
go.
for me, I really think it's in the intention behind it. If you're really intentional, I think even with like even when I do just a get together at my house, like I'm like still printing out a frame and making it, coming up with some loose theme and things like that. I try to be really intentional, and people see that, they see it. They're like, "Oh my God, did you put a yellow butterfly because it's springtime?" I'm like, "I sure did. I sure did put the yellow
Yes. You
butterfly."
noticed the details. You noticed it. Ah.
So I
Yeah.
think
I
being
love
like
that.
intentional and having the intention come out in the form of details, if you have that at every single event, it'll be successful and people will notice.
Yeah. So having that intention and letting it just echo throughout all the details there, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So is there an event that you like is on your bucket list to organize? Like maybe a big event out there that you really want to organize?
So there's so many. There's so many.
Yeah.
I would love to organize incredibly large, multifaceted event like the Met Gala would be a dream of mine. Yes, I would absolutely love it. Even like New York Fashion Week or Paris Fashion Week, where there's it's like so much. I could only imagine what those event producers are going through for that like month before. And I would love to be in that craziness. Like I would
Okay, Yinka,
love
you're in
it.
as insane as I thought you were. This is wonderful. Perfect. So we are here to talk about some of the challenges that you've been experiencing with festival building and with community. And so why don't you just tell us from the beginning, there's the Sum of Us Festival, which you were a part of and no longer a part of. Um, why don't you tell us what that was all about? How did you get involved? Like what's going on there?
That has been almost a little over 5 years now at this point that I was involved with Some of Us Festival. At its core, it's a wellness festival. It's camping, it's wellness. It's for queer women, trans identities, non-binary, gender expansive folks. So really the folks that tend to be a little bit more marginalized within the queer community. And so it was a space that was created for this to happen, for folks within that demographic to come together, to learn from each other, to support each other, to love each other. Um, and that was honestly why I was involved. I was one of the lead producers of the festival, donated a lot of my time, my resources, my knowledge to it. So when the owner of the festival decided that they had brought the festival as far as they could and or they wanted to, um, they decided to step down and sell the festival.
So they decided to step down and
Mhm.
they were going to sell it.
Mhm.
Up until that point, though, what did you love about being a part of that festival?
Oh my gosh, the community, hands down the community. So I've always had a full-time job. I started my own company 6 years ago now. It's an event production company. So I've always been okay on that front. So some of us, me being a lead producer, was really truly donating a lot of my time and then the lot of the resources I had from my other company. And really, it was the community. When COVID hit, it was supposed to be our first year in 2020. And COVID hit, I was adamant. Like, I was such a big proponent of still taking it and making it virtual. And we did it virtual 2 years in a row, you know? And then by the time we actually produced the live festival, we had already built this virtual community that was exploding to meet us in real life and to be in community in real life.
Yeah.
And
Virtual
so,
festivals, that's definitely a timestamp
oh my
like in
gosh,
our time.
like, and we did it. Like, we did it. I mean, we had people in bathtubs for the trans celebration swim. I was spraying myself with a spray bottle in front of my computer in my bikini. Like,
I love that. So you
We did the
committed. You
most.
committed to
We
it.
committed. Yes.
That's great.
We did the absolute most. And so as a producer, um, this was one of the first events that I fully immersed myself, not just as a producer, but as a community member, as an attendee. It was just this like ecosystem that I had never been a part of before in event production. And it was all about the community. So that year one in person, I knew I was like, okay, well, all right.
Wait, so
You know?
what did it mean to you to be part of the community like that? Because there are a lot of gay male spaces, and I feel like that's predominantly what you see out there. It's a lot of spaces dedicated to gay men. You don't even see a lot of lesbian bars that much
Mhm.
anymore. So to have a space like this that's dedicated to queer women, to transgender, non-binary people, what was it like for you to be in something like that?
It was beautiful. It was, I don't think I have ever felt like I had served community before in that way until that first in person, because it was almost like I was serving myself, like different facets, different, and when I came out, I wish there was something like this that I could have gone to and be surrounded by hundreds of other folks that are just like me or might be in the same space as I was with my sexuality or have been there before and have all the knowledge and resources to sit alongside a campfire with me and tell me it's okay that you're unsure if it's men or women or they and them, like right now,
Right.
like it's okay. Just do you. Let me tell you how I did me and maybe you can pull from that. And so it was just so beautiful to have that experience in a very protected and safe space. That was like the one thing. It was like we are so remote, we're so enclosed. We really just built this community in a matter of days and invited people to come in and add to the community. That was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever
Yeah, because I mean, growing up queer, gay, LGBTQ is such a unique and isolating experience if you don't have that community. So when you finally have it, it's like, wow, I'm not alone.
had. Yeah.
I'm not a weirdo. Other people have these questions just like me, and it's
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, it was hard to get people to physically exit the venue the first year. People were just like, can we just stay? I'm like, no, it's
Wait,
not
on
our
the like
land.
in the Zoom room, they wanted to stay on the Zoom.
Well, yeah, yeah, when we did it virtual, actually, we kept it open so
Uh,
people could continue to have their conversations. Yeah. And that was not
wow.
something that we had planned. We had planned to shut it down after like 6 p.m., but people were still on there. So we just let them kind of do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's it's just so crazy to think about that time and people wanting to be on Zoom because that was all we had at the time. But especially for something like this, I feel like it's super meaningful. Is
Yes.
there something that you remember, like a moment from that event that you remember that just lights your heart up, that like reminds you of why you do this?
There were so many moments. But for me, it was the closing ceremony that we did. And we gave people an opportunity to come up on screen and kind of share what their experience was for the weekend. And I remember because I'm producing it on the back end, I'm pulling people up, I'm bringing them down and making sure they're not muted or unmuted. And in the process of making all of this happen on the back, I did not realize that I was just crying. Like tears were streaming down my face, hearing people's story, but I'm still making the thing run, and it was just such a crazy moment for me when I finally was like, I'm
Am
actually
I crying? Is
crying.
this water on
Like,
my
are these
face?
real tears? Am I a real
Oh my
girl?
gosh.
Like, um,
What was it that was causing you to cry? Do you remember?
it was the personal stories that were coming out of it. Everyone has their coming out story. Everyone has their something story within for them being a queer community member, right? And I think sometimes we tend to think like our story is worse than somebody else's. And so hearing other folks just talk about where they are right now in their queer journey and how a space like this, they didn't even realize that they needed a space like this and how it's helped them heal for a little bit. It was just so powerful to me to realize that all I did was build a space. Like that's all I did. And then you're out here telling me that I've changed your life in a few hours or in a weekend. Like that's powerful, you know? And it made
Yeah.
me realize like you're doing something bigger than you. You think you're just creating this space or this event, but you're doing something so much more bigger and you don't even realize that. And so I think it was all like all of those emotions wrapped wrapped up that kind of just manifested it in just crying in tears.
Yeah, no, and it's moments like that when you hear people's stories and the impact that all your efforts, because I imagine organizing a festival is stressful, it's a lot of work. And when you see the fruits of your labor coming forward and how it impacts people is, I've seen it before at events I planned. I've seen it. I've been part of that experience at events I've gone to, and it's great. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, so now there's the event organizers, they decided not to do it anymore. What happened after that?
Yeah, so they decided to take a step down, and they were looking for other producers to purchase the festival. I was always very intent on still being a part of the festival, in the production role of it. I'm very much of a background like person. Nobody needs to know who I am or what I'm doing. It's fine. I will be in the background making the things happen. And so because of that, I never really thought about purchasing it. It never crossed my mind. I was more so concerned with finding other producers that were really aligned with the mission of what the festival is and helping it kind of in that way. Um, but throughout the search, we couldn't find someone, which was understandable because we basically built it. So it's hard to find someone to come in and give your baby, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot of responsibility too, I imagine, to
yeah,
just take
it
over a
is.
festival.
Exactly. Exactly. So in all of that, I was asked several times if I wanted to purchase the festival. I said no several times. I never, I love being an entrepreneur, but owning two companies is like, woo, no, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, and so I always said no. And eventually, it really didn't seem like we were going to find the right person. And after conversations with just folks in my world that I trusted, spoke to the universe several times, many times actually. And it just really seemed like it was the right move. I had been so invested with the festival from the beginning. I knew the ins and outs of how to produce it. I knew the community. So it made sense for me to really step in and be the next owner of the festival. So that was the journey that I was taking, is being the next owner of the festival.
Yeah. So you were thinking about purchasing it. You hadn't purchased it yet.
I had not. No, correct. I
Okay.
had not. Yeah. And, anyone who is in business knows it's not just as easy as just signing a contract or, saying yes. There's a lot of processes that need to happen. And so that was kind of the next direction that we were going, was getting things like financial documents together and legal documents together, things like that, so that I can know that I'm buying something that's financially sound or not sound, but either way, I have a good idea of what company it is that I'm buying. Things like, what are there any lawsuits out on this company? Are there any claims, insurance claims, like things like that? It's really important to know all of that in the
Oh yeah.
process of purchasing it. So that's where we were.
Yeah. And this was leading up to last year's festival, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then leading up to the festival, then lesbian TikTok like lit up on fire because there were rumors that the festival was canceled all of a sudden. And it seems like a lot of people were confused. What happened leading up to this cancellation, and what's true and not true? Please dispel the misinformation here.
The fact that lesbian TikTok knows about me, I'm just like, oh.
Oh God, for
Never,
better,
never in my life did I ever think
yeah,
my
for
name
better or for
and
worse,
lesbian
yeah.
TikTok would be in the same breath. But
And,
here
and
we are.
TikTok thinks I'm a lesbian, so I get these notifications. I don't know why, but TikTok thinks I'm a lesbian. So I'm glad to know that I've seen your name come up.
Oh, great. Good, 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 good. Um,
Yeah. So what
well,
happened?
yes. So, in the part of me doing diligence, my lawyer doing due diligence, and for those that don't know, due diligence is just that you ask all the questions, you ask for all the financial statements, you ask for anything that is going to make you feel 100% secure in the purchase. And so in doing that, there were just certain things that we were asking for that could not be provided. And it made myself and my lawyer a little bit concerned in the process. Nathan, I think you know me well enough that I am very much of a big thinker. Like if you give me something, I'm going to take it and I'm going to run and I'm going to elevate and elevate and elevate. And so that was really my goal with the festival was I wanted to start talking to larger companies and funders and sponsors. And I needed certain documentation or at least understanding so that I could have very intelligent conversations and I
Yeah.
didn't have to chase after paperwork or financial statements, anything like that.
Yeah. It sounds like you wanted to know that you had the ingredients to create the vision that you had in mind for the festival.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I had a vision for it. It was grand.
Yeah.
It was big. It was big.
uh,
But all of that takes time, right? And the
mhm.
festival is getting closer, but I'm still asking for all the things that I need to feel comfortable in, signing on a dotted line. And
I just feel like there's something incredibly hurtful about being hurt by your own community and getting backlash from your own community because we've all been through the same thing, right? And I know I'm guilty of putting the queer community, the gay community on a pedestal sometimes. And I think, oh, we're just all kumbaya and we're all going to love each other and support each other and see everyone's best intentions. But shit happens, right? Maybe your best friend kisses a guy that you like, and maybe that's a true story, maybe it's not. Um, and you get really mad, okay? And that resentment, it builds, and I feel like it's hard not to let that resentment bleed out into a wide brush that you paint the whole gay queer community with. And so I'm wondering how you've been able to not let it impact your relationships because I know that it wants to. How do you handle that?
so recently, what I have been doing is really collecting people in the community that I consider mentors that are a little bit, have a little bit more years on me. And so, one of the most recent things that have come out of all the craziness the past year is there is a lawsuit out there now against me. And so I very much knew something else would come out of it. I was unsure
Yeah.
of how long, years, things like that. So when it
Which has
happened,
already been made public by,
correct,
right. Yeah, they've
correct.
put this all out there, right? Okay.
Yes, this
Yeah.
has been, yes.
Got
And
it.
it was made very, very incredibly public as well without my knowledge. And so I immediately started calling folks in my local community, just number one, asking questions on how to navigate it, especially because it was made very public. And I didn't know, like, do I need to put a statement out now? Like, what does that look like? How do I continue producing this festival or, you know, being the face of it? Like, I know there's articles coming out about the festival. And so in me being vulnerable in front of these folks and really just asking like, what do I, what do I do? Like, knowing me, what do I do? That has been really helpful in having this like mentorship base of different
Mhm.
folks in our community. Like Mo, I text Mo and I'm like, Mo, right? And
Mm.
Mo's like, you're doing something right. Don't worry about it. A, B, and C, and we'll like just not necessarily appease me, but will just give me like some really good advice and directions and next steps. Um, that has been really important and really, really helpful for me. So the blessing is that I've naturally just found these mentors within the community to help guide me on what to do.
So, Yinka, this sounds like what is it? The dog of the hare's whistle or whistle. What do you know that saying? The dog of the hair of the dog that bit you. I don't know. Have you heard of this? Okay. So they say this when you get really blacked out drunk and the next day to feel better, you're supposed to have a beer or something, and that's supposed to
Oh,
help you.
yes.
I don't,
Okay.
don't try
Yes.
this at home. I'm not recommending you do this. I have no idea.
The hair of the
But
dog or something. Yes.
okay, the reason I bring that up because it sounds like having been hurt by community, the queer community, you've actually leaned back into community itself to find healing. And I just think that's beautiful. I think that's amazing because you aren't letting it get to you and letting that resentment trickle out to the entire community. You're not isolating. You're actually leaning back into your own mentors and our queer elders. And I just think it takes a lot of strength to be able to keep that heart open like that.
I mean, listen.
It's a compliment, Yinka. Take it.
It also doesn't mean I don't have like a burn book somewhere,
A burn book? Ooh.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think I've also come to realize that the folks that are really like really loud or those, those keyboard warriors behind the screen, like they will always be really loud. They will always be the loudest in the room, always. And sometimes you just gotta let them be really loud and tire themselves out because at the end of the day, that's really all they have. And so, okay, if that's all you have,
Yeah.
good for you. I'm actually gonna still be in the community and still do the work and still know that there are others that see what I'm doing and support what I'm doing. And that is what is the most important to me, not you who's trying to say I sell drugs at the festival and no one should come ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is crazy. And the real gag is your impact is going to be way louder than their keyboard warriors. So, yeah.
correct.
Ugh, was beautiful. Um,
Honestly, I think it became a little bit more of an emotional transaction rather than a business transaction. I very much operate on a business mindset. I try to keep emotion out as much as I possibly can in my professional life. And so kind of having those two different viewpoints, end of sale there was just a lot of conflict that started coming out of it to the point that the owner of some of us then decided to put out a statement that the festival is canceled without my knowledge, without my legal team's
shit.
knowledge. It was very much of a shock to everyone, myself, my
So you
lawyer.
had no idea.
No,
And then people already bought tickets and stuff for this
yes.
festival. Okay.
Yes. So yes, so we had no idea. There was a cease and desist that was sent about a few days before. A cease and desist was sent on a Monday. By like Thursday, the statement was out. So we never really got a good amount of time to actually do anything that was listed in the cease and desist because it was made so public and there was no actual conversation as to, okay, we are going to cancel the festival, but let's do it A, B, and C. This is the process. It kind of just got pushed out there. It caused a huge rift in the community. Clearly, it caused a huge rift in the community. There was no way that it wasn't going to. And
Yeah.
so the fallout from it was, a lot of people started creating their own narratives of what they thought was going on, which, included me stealing the company and stealing storage items and stealing signage and stealing. I was like a ninja thief,
Oh
apparently.
no. So they were trying to fill in the gaps with what they thought had happened and some conclusions about you being a thief.
It was juicy tea. So,
Oh my
of
gosh.
course, so it became a PR nightmare. Not gonna lie. I at first thought it was best to not make anything public and really with our internal team, which when I say internal team, we're all volunteers. Like everybody volunteers for the festival. It's just that the group of people that volunteer are all bosses, are all in their own right. Their day jobs match what they do with the festival. So it's a lot easier, but having to sit with our communications and marketing director and put out, you know, statements and having my lawyer look at the statements to make sure we're not saying anything incriminating. And it was a lot. And I was very much of the mindset of just let's not do anything drastic. Let's not be reactive. Let's just wait and see what people are saying, what the community is saying. The community was saying some crazy things, so we needed to say
Okay.
something.
What is I need to know what was the craziest thing that was said about you, Yinka?
Oh man. The craziest thing I've read about myself is that I'm basically a drug dealer and that I sell drugs at the festival.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
god. Yinka, you're joking.
that's interesting.
You must be the most competent drug dealer ever to have lived
Thank
because
you.
you, like Yinka.
I was
I
like,
was it convincing?
how?
Did you almost believe it?
I mean, no, I did not.
No. I feel like I wouldn't believe anything like that either. I'd be like, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was
That's
it was a little insane, and I was like, "Oh, a drug? Oh, I actively sell drugs at the festival." Hmm.
so. Can you confirm or deny those rumors?
I can confirm that I am not a drug dealer, and I do not
Okay.
sell drugs at the
Okay.
festival.
That would have been a bombshell interview for Queer Conscious. So,
So yeah,
so
no.
Yinka, so this is so they canceled the festival. At least they told people that it was canceled. You're trying to figure out what's happening. So this is sort of how you birthed the No Other Festival. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
So what how did you pull this all together? Like, because you put on a festival.
We put on a festival. Like at the end of of everything, there were many, many times where I was just like, you know what, that's fine. Let's just cancel it. We'll give everyone their money back. But
Yeah.
and that was because it was fueled, but by what I was seeing online on social media. But the things that we were not pushing out was that people were emailing us and being like, well, I can't believe it's canceled. Like, this is my one time out of the year where I find the most pure joy. Like, what am I going to do now? So we as a team were getting those emails. I was personally getting those emails from attendees like, are you sure you can't, like, can you do it another way? And reading those emails, I just knew I had to continue with it. I knew I had to, so I know there were people that were being so out there and so loud, but the people that weren't, that were really just seeking the community that really needed this space, they were directly trying to have a conversation with me as in like, what can we do to make sure this space still exists? And those few emails and communication that I got from people were enough to keep my head in the game, and just focus on that. So I went on full crazy producer mode, full crazy producer, like did not sleep, did not eat, like
Bus, club, another
yes,
club, plane.
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
literally, literally.
So it was those stories though, those emails that you're getting, that's what fueled you to
Absolutely.
create No Other Festival. What was it? A
Absolutely.
month leading up? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was about 2 weeks from when we were actually going to be on site at the
Wow.
venue.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow.
And so the messaging became like, it really became, we're going to continue this community. It's going to look different. But if you want to be a part of what it is going to be, stick with us. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but stick with us because we're still going to do this. And
Yeah.
the folks that were like, yeah, let's do this. We did it, we
We've got a
created,
community to serve. Let's
yes,
go.
they were like, hell yeah. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we created logos. We created, we just recreated everything that we could last year to make sure that we could put out a space and create a space. And it was beautiful. It was small, it was intimate, but it was a beautiful community. And what I ended up realizing was there were a good amount of people that did not care about the drama. They just wanted to be there. And it was a lot of folks that were in their mid 20s. They were figuring out their sexuality. A lot of them were coming into the fact that they were non binary and how to navigate their world now as a non-binary identity. And those are the folks that were like, I went to all these different workshops and I met A, B, and C, and they're in their 40s and they're non-binary and they're telling me what I need to do. And I'm just hearing people come up to me and talk to me about it. And I got so incredibly emotional because Nathan, I did not think about those people that were, this was their first time coming and they just want to come and have a space and have this experience. I was more so concerned about the folks that had been there before and what are they going to think now. And
Yeah.
like by Saturday, that was immediately gone when I got so many people coming up to me and saying things to me that I just focused the rest of the time on just this experience that we were giving people. And that's all I
Yeah.
cared about.
Because I can't imagine it's nice to read negative things about you online, nor to have communication dealt with you like, publicly and with you not included. Like, I almost think about, when parents are arguing and they bring their kids involved and they don't realize the impact that it has on their kids, right? Some of the conversations need to be happen behind closed doors. But like, how do you deal with all the emotions of it? Like, what were you feeling and how did you push through it?
That's a loaded question. Um, um, I mean, every day was different for me. I don't consider myself like a highly sensitive or emotional person. Like I think a lot of my friends would be like, "Oh, she's so strong," and she's so. But a lot of my really good friends are like, "Oh, you have not met Yinka Freeman. She is a ball of emotion, and she just hides it really well." So I was hiding it really well,
Mhm.
outwardly. And then it would more so be, when I'm by myself, literally like sitting on a toilet being by myself, I would just like break down in tears for 5 minutes and then, dab my eyes and get up and like go back in on the Zoom call or whatever it is. But the people that I felt very close to, that were on the team, I fully allowed myself to just break down in front of them. The reason that I did that was because I recognized that there was no way that I would be able to 100% take on the burden of putting the festival on, the emotional toll, the physical, like everything. There was no way. And so I fully knew that I needed my support system to see me really broken down and really hurt. I was really hurt at the end of the day. That's what it was. I
Yeah.
was really, really hurt.
What were you hurt most by?
I was hurt most by people who thought that I was doing this in a selfish manner, people who thought that I was doing this to be known or to just be out there where I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be known. I would rather people not know who I am ever in life. And so like those people that thought I was really in it for myself, that really, really hurt. And the people who didn't really understand that it really was for community. I really didn't give anything about myself. It was really like I believed in the community that we were creating. I believe that it was the space is, and will be so necessary. And I just really believe that I was fighting for community, but I didn't feel like everyone in community felt like I was fighting for
Yinka. I
them.
mean, well, it sounds like who you strive to be, like everything that you strive to do. And I see the work that you've done. We have served together on boards. I've seen all the work you've done in San Diego, and you're someone who is constantly trying to work towards creating spaces for the community and help uplift the community. You don't need to do any of that. Why the hell do you do it? Why do you keep doing it despite all of this?
Because I'm crazy, Nathan, because I'm crazy. Because I believe that not everyone, and I see it, I know that not everyone in our community has. Honestly, it's the privilege. Not everyone in our community has the privilege to be able to be out there, to be an advocate in whatever way they see it. There's a part of me when I do event production, especially within the queer space, that I feel like very much that there is an advocate in me, because sometimes we go into these spaces where I know we're not welcome. And I'm like out there, like, no, we are going to put that flag up. No, the bathrooms are going to be gender neutral, and I'm like talking and they're looking at me like, who, usually people think I'm straight, 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 right? And they're like, who is this straight, crazy ally that's like, and I'm like, first of all, no. Okay. But also it's like, this is my community. If I'm involved in this space, I'm going to make sure it is the safest space for my community. And I'm not going to need a trans person to come up and talk to you front desk about gender neutral bathrooms. I'm going to do it. Me
Uh,
as Zinka, and so I've realized very much that that's how I can be an advocate within our community. And so it's that I know I have that privilege to do so. And I take that very, very seriously.
Yeah. That is a great example of how you wield your privilege, right? Because I think you and I mean, living in Southern California, we have so much freedom and joy and access to spaces that a lot of people in the US and around the world do not have access to. And I mean, that's what fuels what I do as well. I relate to that a lot. It's like, what can I do to help our community
Mhm.
with the time and space and resources that I have? And I just think that's a great example for to set for people. Do you think it's changed at all how you view leadership, just what you've gone through? Or did you learn anything about leadership through this process?
I think the one thing that really changed for me was I fully came to recognize that I need to be a leader that is in front of the camera, I guess, if you want to
Oh,
say.
are we
Yeah.
embracing the spotlight?
Oh my word. I do not like that is something that is so not innately who I am. I am, even, I mean, even without pro, right? Like I'll just set up things and just be like, we all
Mhm.
did it together.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's just not who I innately am. But in just in everything that has happened, I've come to understand that, at least for me as a leader, it helps when people see me speaking or see me out there being in front of a camera or writing an article or whatever it is, because I recognize that in me saying, I'm more in the background, people don't necessarily know who I am. And so they start creating these narratives of who they think I am. I just know that I want to have more of a control on the narrative of who I really am. I think the folks that I
Ugh.
work with all the time that know me will immediately like read something and be like, that is not Yinka. I we don't even know who they're writing about, you know? And I get that
Yeah.
all the time when people are like, oh, I read this thing, but there's no
Yeah.
way. And I'm like, so because of that, I think it's important for people to see what type of leader I am so that they're not making up narratives about who I am. But then I also feel like we are living in some real messed up times right now. And I think it's really important for our community to see those within the community that are doing things. I don't think this is the time that we are silent in whatever it is that we're doing within the community. I think this is the time that you have to get on a soapbox and you have to be honestly just loud and proud.
Yeah. Yeah, because as much as there might be this infighting within the queer community or arguments that we have with one another, there's a much bigger enemy right now with
Yes.
what's happening.
Yeah.
And I almost think too, this fear of being a public facing figure or being successful or having a platform of any sort, it is scary. I've started this podcast. It is terrifying to watch back videos of myself talking and be like, did I really say that? Oh my God. But I've also coached a lot of people who struggle to have success. They're almost afraid of success. They're afraid of embracing their power and having a voice. And I think it has to do with the potential backlash that you could be receiving for being yourself. And, what would you say to someone who is scared to have a voice in our community, have a voice in the world because of the backlash they might be afraid of experiencing?
I mean, realistically, it's gonna happen, right? I think we both know it. But you just have to stay focused on if there is a mission that you have to stay focused on that mission. If there is something that you want to push out there in the world or something that you want to support, you just have to stay focused on it because there's always going to be, and I think you can ask any famous person or anyone who has been out, in front of the camera that you're always going to get the haters, you're always going to get the naysayers, but the folks that end up supporting you, that end up loving you, that end up, being attracted to whatever it is that you're giving, those voices are always going to be louder, always going to be
Yeah.
louder than the naysayers. So if you just focus on that and focus
Yeah.
on those folks, you'll be fine.
No, and it sounds like that's really what's got you through all of this is again the people that you are impacting who have reached out to you knowing that you're creating the space and it's
Yeah.
supportive for people. It's
Yeah.
really a healing thing that you're doing. So tell us about No Other Festival.
Yeah. So we had the festival last year. It was in Northern California. And like I said, this beautiful community came out of it. And it was so great to see. And it made everyone on the team really realize that it's the space. It is a space that we are creating that people want to come to. And so we decided to keep going with it. So this is year two, which is very exciting. Yes. We moved it down to Southern California. So it's about an hour away from
Right.
San Diego. Yes, which is
Uh-huh.
awesome. It has more of a desert feel to it. It is in the middle of the desert. So it's May 8th to the 11th in the middle of the desert here in San Diego County. And at the heart of it, it still has the foundation of wellness. That's really what it is all about. It is a space where you can come and be amongst community, heal yourself, or start your healing journey. Or, I tell people if you are just want to be in community for a few days where you don't have to worry about what your gender expression is or your sexuality, you just need to come and just be yourself for a few days and No one's going to judge you. No one's going to look at you twice. If they look at you
Right.
twice, it's because you look cool.
Right. Damn.
Yeah, look at that hair color. Look at that tattoo. That's usually what it is.
Yeah.
So that foundation is still there. It's the heart of the festival, so it will always be there. This year we're focusing on a lot more of the theme of wellness is advocacy. And
Mm.
so we have some really incredible facilitators this year that are doing really big things out there within the queer community, within queer advocacy as well. And they're coming to the festival. And this makes me honestly, like, it's like I feel like I'm a secret agent, because because I have all these amazing folks that are doing the work coming and being facilitators, but secretly they too are going to come and get a moment to be in community and to rest and recharge themselves. But I haven't told any of them
You're like,
that.
you think you're coming here to work, but actually you're here
Yeah.
to heal and be held.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And so I
that's
know
great.
that's going to happen, but I also know because of the different folks that we do have coming that are facilitators, there's going to be so much unintentional work that's going to come out of it because when you're in a social setting, and with your peers and people who are doing the same work always ends up coming out, right? But when
Yeah,
it's in a space where you feel free and they feel free and everyone feels protected, it it doesn't really sound like work,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Oh, for
So
sure.
I'm really excited for like those conversations to happen in a very natural state between these like powerful people doing things in our community.
I mean, you put powerful leaders in a space together, great things are going to
Great
happen.
things.
And so,
Yeah.
I mean, so this is now No Other. This is your baby. What is different about No Other Festival?
So, no, hands down, it is the types of facilitators and the types of vendors. I'm really all about pulling from our community, pulling the gems, the ones that are out there, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I surround myself with that in our local San Diego community. And so to be able to pull from some of those people to come into the festival to share their knowledge and resources, that's one of the things that you will see hands down when we release the schedule in about a week, seeing the types of workshops that are going to be at the festival and the other organizations that we have aligned ourselves or partnered with to be a part of the festival. And that was one of my goals for this year for the festival, was to not have it just be produced by myself and the No Other team, but really incorporating and reaching out to other organizations, queer organizations that are out there doing work and maybe just need a little bit more visibility to get their message out there. Getting those folks together in this space. And that's really what has happened this year.
It sounds incredible. It sounds like the gayest lightning in a bottle experience. Like
I love that you said that because that's like it is lightning in a bottle. Like,
Yes.
it's like
I,
the queer version.
I loved going to Lightning in a Bottle. I know I don't fall into the demographic of this festival, but I support you all 100% and
Thank
wish you the
you.
best of luck in it. So, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your time, your wisdom, and just being here to chit chat with me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nathan.
Thank you for listening to the Queer Conscious Podcast, where we explore how love feeds us, heals us, and gives us life. I'm your host and queer love coach, Nathan Serrato. But remember that the conversations that we're having here today are not a replacement for working with a licensed therapist, professional coach, or mental health practitioner. These conversations are for entertainment and education purposes only. But if you are dealing with some big challenges and you're thinking about seeking some professional support, it is one of the most empowering things that you can do for yourself. You can visit queerconscious.com for more information on how to do that. Now, if you love today's episodes and you want more episodes like this, I need your help. Please leave a 5-star rating and review. That's going to help me to bring you more high quality content and interviews. So until then, take care of yourself and don't forget to let love in.